Welcome to Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable AF, a podcast hosted by Nikki D. Lovely. That's really just her diary disguised as a podcast, but who cares? You're here for it. Join in as she addresses her self-reflections on life, love, and dating, and gives us all the tea by being more vulnerable than she ever has, with herself and the world. So let's get started in today's episode with Nikki D. Lovely, already in progress.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable as F. That's your girl, Nikki D. Lovely. As someone who has always had some issues with starting projects and stopping projects, I've kind of like to do things at my own pace, and being consistent has probably been one of my downfalls. And having a family full of people who were diagnosed with ADHD, and except for myself, I would like to just go ahead and diagnose my own self. Only because of the fact that there was a new statistic that came out that there are a lot of women who actually have had ADHD their entire lives and have only recently been diagnosed within the last couple of years. And, you know, a lot of us have been like, oh, that's what's wrong with us. So I have been the kind where I've just, done a lot of research myself, and it just makes sense. There's a friend of mine actually who takes meds, and she was like, you probably do really good if you took some meds. But I've been trying to self-manage my entire life. But anyway, that's a long explanation for why I have been missing. But I will say that I am trying to do better, okay? So with that, today's topic, what I would like to talk about today is going to be about expectations and managing your expectations. And especially with this generation, I've noticed a lot of people are not where they thought they would be. If you notice, I didn't say aren't where they're supposed to be, because I feel like those are set goals and limitations that we've put on ourselves. We were told when we were younger, get a college education and you'll be able to get the house and the picket fence and get married and have kids, and life would turn out great. And guess what? Maybe for a few of us, life has turned out great. But did it look the way that we expected it to look? Probably not. For the majority of us. And maybe I'm talking just for myself. Maybe I can just say, for me, I'll use my I statements. For me, it didn't look the way I thought it was going to look, and that's okay. At least now it is. At the time, I thought my world was going to crash. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to make it through, pull through, that I had failed at life. But now that I've gotten past that hard part, I understand that those were some trials and tribulations that I needed to go through. And sometimes your expectations for what you think your life is going to be is not exactly what it is going to be, or it's not going to look exactly the way you thought it was going to look. I think some people's paths are a little bit harder than others. But again, at the end of the day, I don't think that we should limit ourselves to what we envisioned for ourselves when we were in high school, or when we were a little kid. I remember being a little kid and being asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was, at the time, I remember thinking I wanted to be an OBGYN because I like babies. So I thought that was a great answer at the time. And I think I held on to that answer for a few years until I realized exactly what an OBGYN had to do. And that meant doing doctor stuff, which actually meant, blood and cutting people and all that other stuff. And I realized I didn't have the stomach for that. So it's interesting, the people who probably still hold on to something that they thought they wanted to be as a kid when they didn't know anything better, I think from there I moved on to wanting to be a writer, and I was going to be a television producer. I was going to be a showrunner. That was always my ultimate goal. I wanted to write. I wanted to create for the masses. I knew at an early age that communication and media was powerful, that you could bend people's minds basically just by what you present in front of them. And you can see that even today now with, the politics that are going on. You can see that with the films that are coming out right now. So that was something that I always wanted to do. And I went to school for communication studies. I moved to Los Angeles because I was going to follow the dream. I was going to become a writer. I was going to be an actress. And I don't want to say what was going to become. I did actually get into the field. I did some acting, I did some producing, I did some casting. I did a lot of things, even though it didn't look the way I wanted it to. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just want to start off saying that. So if you're anything like me, you probably had a timeline, you probably had a plan, maybe even a backup plan or a backup plan for the backup plan. And today I want to talk about how long it can take for you to get back up when life knocks you down from those plans, and why it's never too late. But you do have to keep going if you figured out that that's something that you want to do. So let's get into it. I've briefly described a couple of my dreams and my plans, but ultimately what I really wanted to do was, just like I said, become a producer. And what I realized that being in the entertainment industry was very time consuming, meaning I didn't have all the time that I needed in order to be able to do that and raise 2 kids. So I wound up getting married at a very young age. That was not in my original plan. So that kind of threw me for a loop. I wound up having a kid, the first kid, and then I thought I was in love again and had a second kid. And next thing I know, I'm going to the backup plan. And the backup plan meant starting a business so I can stay home with the kids and, doing what I needed to do, and not so much putting my dreams forward, but trying to figure out how was I going to pay them rent or, get these kids what I needed for them, I think I was very lost at an early age because I had a plan. And when you have this thing set in your mind that, like I'm following these steps, and then you kind of get off course, it's really hard when you continue to go off course to get back on the course. Because, and I tell this to my daughters all the time, the longer you go down the wrong road, the longer it's going to take you when you turn around to come back. So the sooner you realize you're headed in the wrong direction, the easier it will be for you, and the less time it'll take for you to just kind of do a quick autocorrect, take the next exit versus waiting 20 minutes to realize you're going in the wrong direction, or in my case, I feel like it was like 10 years before I realized, you know what? You're spending way too much time thinking about what you should have been doing instead of using that time to put one foot in front of the other and start doing what it is you want to do. And what I realized was the only way I could do that was by making sure I healed those old wounds that I had where I thought that I wasn't enough because I didn't fulfill the expectation of, career and family, again, too, when you see I have a ex-husband that didn't go very well. As far as I'm concerned, when you say those vows, you mean it for till death do you part. And in that case, I needed to escape just in case it was death do you part. It was like, well, it's either you or me, basically, in that case. But as sad as that is to say, I still expected my marriage to last, and it didn't. So again, that's another expectation. That's another knockdown. That's another blow that you have to get up and get over. And you look at the sky and you say, oh my gosh, God, how much can I take? How much are you going to give me? I don't know if I can do this. Like, I said I wanted this, this, and this. I didn't say I wanted this, that, and the third, and especially not this, So I think being able to look at your life and be like, okay, this is not what I wanted. Take a deep breath, but that's okay. How do we course correct? And I realized too, one of the things that helped me get out of that funk that I was in was getting rid of the should. Like, I should be doing this. I should have had this by 30. I should have bought a house by now. In California, there's no way I could have bought a house in California. California is like it's just ridiculous to live here. And for the longest time, I was trying to make it in the industry, and I don't think I realized how much I was giving away. Or maybe I did. Maybe at the end of the day, like, this is what I really wanted to do. So I did that. But then when I got to a certain age, like I think after 35, I was like, you know what? I need to be doing something else. I would prefer to have my kids in a house and in a loving environment and not having to struggle to pay rent than having to worry about, driving to LA for auditions every day, or driving to LA to figure out whether or not I can get in on the next, big movie or something. And I think once I let go of what I thought I should be doing and I just released myself into trying something new, I think that was the beginning of me figuring out, okay, cool. You know what? It doesn't have to look like what you said in the beginning. This can be something different. I can embrace this new life and be okay with it. First, you have to be able to let go of that part. And there's a quote that I say, which is, we don't just grieve people, we grieve the lives we thought we would have. But I think that once you allow yourself to grieve, once you allow yourself to say, okay, my life doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, and that's it, and cry it out and say, do I want to continue down this path, or do I want to try something different? And I think at the time we start feeling discomfort, it's time to try something new, right? And I think a lot of us don't do that. There's going to be a lot of shame, sadness, confusion, possibly even disappointment, a lot of disappointment once you possibly, or there may even be relief, once you allow yourself to just feel the feeling of not being where you thought you were supposed to be. Releasing that is important. There's going to be moments where you're like, why did I stay so long? But I feel like when you start asking yourself those questions, you should also make sure you give yourselves the answer to those questions. So if you say, why did I stay in this so long? Give it to yourself. Give yourself the answer. The reason why I stayed in Los Angeles for so long was because I was genuinely trying to put in the effort for my younger self. Because I know my younger self genuinely wanted to be a movie producer. She genuinely wanted to be in the movies. She still loves to do that stuff. So when I look at it like that, there was nothing wrong with that. The question becomes, is that what I still want now? And am I willing to put in that same sacrifice that I did for the same outcome? Or is there something else that this new me wants instead? And those are those questions that you need to sit down and journal and figure out, because you don't want to stay stuck thinking that you're holding on to something your younger self wanted to do. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted to be a OBGYN when I was 7 or 8, not knowing anything about why. So I think you need to understand what your why is. And if that why is still valid for now, then maybe this is something you should be trying to figure out. How can I do this? But obviously, the way that you're doing it now didn't work. So the question is, how do I course correct? Right? I think a lot of times too, what we forget to talk about is our expectation versus reality. A lot of times we're living a microwave society. Everybody wants everything like right away. People want to be social media influencers, and you want it right away, right? You want to be at the top of the food chain right away. I don't know how many times I've stopped and started doing social media stuff. I used to do YouTube. I started on Instagram and TikTok, and then I was like, this is a lot of work. Really what I want to do. I wasn't willing to invest the time or the commitment into doing it that way. I feel like my ADHD is just all over the place, and I feel like maybe if that's something I did really want to do, I would consistently do it. But obviously, it's not something I'm genuinely interested in doing, or I would have done it by now, right? So the expectation was I was going to get on and everyone's going to love me and they're going to find me right away. And they're going to be like, yay, Nikki, and 1 million followers in over a month, right? Because, we all think we're that great. But the reality is, it takes people years, and I've been doing this for years, so I even know that it takes people more than just years. Sometimes it could take some people up to a decade. And the reason why is because you're not going to be the best as soon as you come out. You're learning. Every time you post something, every time you build something, and it's your first time, you're not going to be perfect at it. You are learning. You're learning from your mistakes. But if you don't even allow yourself to have those mistakes, how are you going to be the best you can be at it, right? And you can look at it the same way of you not getting to where you want to be right now. Are you learning? Like, did you learn along the way? Did you think you're going to be perfect right out the gate? It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert at something. So if you haven't even put your 10,000 hours in, what do you really have to complain about? You still have a long way to go. So I feel like when I look at it like that, it's like, oh, wow, okay. Now, if you've already put your 10,000 hours in and you still aren't getting anywhere, it's probably time that we start looking at something else and changing up again how you're doing it. Because it may not be that you're not good at what you're doing. It's just that maybe you're in the wrong niche, or like maybe how you're showing up is not correct. But something needs to change because we already know what the definition of insanity is. And anyway, so when I will say there was a time where I realized I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I got on my knees and I asked God, why are you doing this to me? And God said, I have something beautiful for you. And I've been waiting for that something beautiful for 20 years now. I thought that I would bounce back quickly from finding out that my husband cheated on me, being around schizophrenic, being in an abusive relationship, leaving that relationship and jumping into another abusive relationship, being a highly functioning depressed person. Imagine Robin Williams. That was me. I was the life of the party, but emotionally I was dead inside because I wasn't willing to heal. I wasn't willing to heal. I was just an avoidant. I was scared of my feelings. I didn't know what to do with them because there was no place to put them. So I just, hid them underneath the bed, I guess. But just because you hide stuff under the bed doesn't mean that that stuff isn't still there. You just tucked it away. And I needed to deal with it. But my expectation was that, if I didn't deal with it, then I would be healed. Because you know what they say? They used to say time heals all wounds. And what they fail to tell you is that is a load of crock. Healing does not take place once time passes if you haven't done the work in between time. A lot of people think that you can just wait for time to pass and you're just going to forget about that stuff. No, you don't forget about it. It's still there. If you haven't done the work, it's still going to be there. And that's the problem. So I think once I realized that put things into perspective for me. Then I was able to bounce back. Then I was able to heal properly. So when you see other people moving on, it can feel like you're broken or behind. But quite honestly, what really occurs is sometimes it just takes longer for you to heal because you are just now getting to a place where you realize you need healing. You're just now getting to a place where you're starting to ask for help. You're just now becoming self-aware. You're just now reaching out for therapy. You're just now going to church. You're just now meditating. You're just now reading self-help books. You're just now doing the things that you probably should have been doing more of 4 or 5 years ago. But you're just now there. And guess what? That's okay. It's okay to just now be where you are. The most important thing is that you are self-aware enough to know, I need help. I want to change. I want to heal. And realizing that healing is not a race. Grief for a life you didn't get is real, but staying there forever isn't an option either. You have to be able to give yourself the grace to move on. You have to be able to forgive yourself for not meeting this goal that you set for yourself when you were 12 years old, or this goal that you set for yourself that you can always move. I think a lot of people forget you can move the goalposts. I had a mentor in college where I told him, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that Friday deadline. I think I had a daughter at the time. He wanted something by Friday. And he said, Nikki, do what you can. Try to make the deadline. But if you don't, guess what? We can push it back. Don't ever get so flustered to think that a deadline can't be pushed. And hearing that gave me so much room to breathe. Just knowing that there was a possibility that if I didn't get this done, I could still just move the goalpost. And I think that's what we have to hold on to. That's the key. You must be able to say, listen, just because I didn't make it this time, just because I didn't do it this time, just because I didn't reach that goalpost that I set for myself in the time frame that I gave myself, some arbitrary number that you pulled from your butt that said, I'm going to be a doctor by the time I'm 22, not knowing all the work that it actually takes to be a doctor, So I think once you are able to see that and give yourself the grace and be able to move the goalpost, you can be kinder to yourself and realize it's okay. It's okay you didn't make it right now. That doesn't mean you're not going to. And if you don't and you're okay with that, that's okay too. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say, you know what? That's what I wanted when I was 20. I don't want that no more. I'm 45. I'm 50 now. I don't want any kids. It's okay for you to change your mind. It's okay for you to be 70 and say, you know what? I don't want to live in a retirement home. I want to have a condo in the Alps. Whatever. See, something that you told yourself when you were 12, you were going to live in Aruba. And then you went to Aruba and you hate Aruba. So it's okay to change your mind. Okay? It's okay to not be where you thought you were going to be. All right. Let me just say some of the things that helped me move forward. Therapy, you guys know, was number one. I'm still at a place right now where I'm trying to figure out what the hell I want to do in my life. I still like film and television. I think every 5 years, my mom used to tell me every 5 years you have a turning point. Every 5 years is a transition year. And I guess this is 5 years in. So this is my transition year. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I want to do. I've been applying to colleges. I've been applying to teach at colleges. I'm trying to figure out where I want to move. I have a lot of things going on right now, all of which I am not afraid or scared of. I'm writing a book. I'm doing this podcast. I'm just leaning into the moment, figuring things out. I'm falling in love, doing all the things, and it's a beautiful place to be. I'm very happy in this healed space that I'm in. But how did I get here? A lot of therapy. I did therapy for 5 years. Really just kind of let therapy go probably about a year ago. But if I need it again, guess what? I'm calling this lady up and talking to her again because I think therapy is important. Your faith. I think you should have a little bit of counseling plus your faith. You definitely need something to believe in. I like to meditate. I like to pray. I like to get my thoughts together. I think that that's important to help you have something that's a little bit larger than yourself to believe in, right? Whatever you want it to be. There are so many different religions. You can be an atheist, you can be agnostic and still believe in something. Whether that's yourself or whatever, you need something to believe in. Experiencing new things helped me a lot as well. Saving up money so that I could experience those new things helped me a lot. Changing my self-talk helped me a lot. I have always said if I would not say it to my best friend, I would not say it to myself. There are times I look at myself now and I'm like, oh my God, girl, you look so old. Like, what is going on? You look so tired. Look at those bags under your eyes. And then I say, would you say that to your friend? Maybe I would. I'm real with my friends. But at the same time, would I be mean to her? No. I would still say, girl, but you're still beautiful though. Go get you some rest. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend and then leave it at that. So let's talk about what it looks like to rebuild yourself slowly. So after you've decided, okay, look, I feel like I've not done what I wanted to do. I haven't done the expectations. My goals are shot. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Let's talk about what it looks like to rebuild. And not perfectly, because it's not going to be perfect. I think that's the number one problem. People think that everything they do needs to be perfect. Nope. It's not going to be perfect. Okay? You heard what I said? It is not going to be perfect. And you have to be okay with it not being perfect. Because it's not going to be perfect. Okay? It's not going to be perfect. But this is how we get there. You're going to set some small goals. You're not going to set these huge goals. Well, ultimately, we're going to have you write down 2 big goals. Like for me right now, my 2 big goals, right now I'm teaching at the elementary level. So my goal right now is to actually teach on the college level, have my MFA. So I'm able to teach on the college level. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I've always wanted to do. Why not go ahead and try to pursue that? So that's one of my goals. And then my last goal is I need to move out of here in the last 3 months. I don't know where I'm going. Have no clue. But I'm hoping that the other 2 goals that I have about going back to school and or teaching at a school is going to kind of help me with that third, which is, trying to figure out where I'm going to live and in what state and where and, all the other good stuff. I know I'm going to figure it out. At the end of the day, I'm not stressing about it. I realized stress does not help you. There's no reason to stress about things that you cannot control. The things that you can't control, you will. And guess what? You're going to figure it out. I have enough faith in myself to know that no matter what, I'm going to figure stuff out. When I moved to Louisiana and then I thought I was having like a huge payday and then I didn't get paid not one single dime, I figured that shit out, right? Now, mind you, I did have some savings. But at the same time, savings don't last forever. So I still needed to figure out what I was going to do to pay the rent, to have some money, some income coming in. And that's what I did. I figured that shit out. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to set some small goals and you're going to believe in yourself. When you set the smaller goals, you're going to do daily goals. So I'm breaking down my big goals into little goals. My big goal of teaching at a college. Well, first I need to figure out where I want to go. So on my list of things to do, it is find the colleges that I'm interested in applying to. Revamping my resume, creating a cover letter for that school. And these are, just small micro goals that I'm giving myself in order to get to that next goal. So you're going to write down your goal. You're going to break down the goal. What do I need to do to get to this goal? And then you're just going to take it day by day. Take those micro wins, those micro goals to get to your bigger goals. Once I redid my resume, guess what? Now I can start applying to all of the things I want to apply to. All right. Same thing for the schools. Looking for the schools, applying to the schools, figuring it all out. And choosing healing even when it feels easier to be bitter. That is something else that's going to help you rebuild slowly, but not perfectly. You're going to choose to heal even when it feels easier to not do so. Because at the end of the day, healing is going to help you. And by healing, I say looking for a therapist. If you don't have a therapist, then find a coach. If you need a coach, go to my website. I offer coaching services. If I'm not your coach, go somewhere else. It doesn't matter, but you want to start your healing journey. You want to start getting to the point where you don't allow your past to affect your future. When you realize that your self-talk is bad and you need to start changing that. When you realize that you're feeling stuck, but you don't know what to do, that's also a healing problem. There's something that you have not addressed that you need to address. And this is important because a lot of times what we'll do is we avoid. Again, we think time heals wounds and it doesn't. You have to actively do the work. You don't wake up healed one morning. You wake up one day and realize the pain doesn't weigh as much as it used to. Okay? So that's where you're trying to get. You're trying to get to a point where the pain doesn't affect you the way it used to. When I talk about my ex-husband and I talk about how my youngest daughter's father left me after we had signed this lease to this apartment and I thought I was getting help and I wound up not getting help and I cried myself to sleep. Then, and sometimes when I tell that story, I still feel that. I think I told this story on another podcast and I broke down as I was telling the story. I still feel the pain. I still, if I really allow myself to feel it, I feel it. But it doesn't weigh as much as it used to. I don't allow it to weigh me down. I don't allow it to affect the type of men that I date now. I have moved past that. And that's what healing is. So ultimately, the lesson is to keep going. It's never too late. Is never too late. I am with 2 kids. I am looking at my life right now like, wow, you just did everything for your kids and now it's time to do something for you. And that's okay. It's okay. To compartmentalize your life. I love raising my children. I love being there for them. And now it's time for mommy. Now it's time for me. Now it's time to get back on track. And it's never too late. Your new dreams can exist alongside with your old disappointments. Or how about we just not even look at them as disappointments? We look at them as lessons. We look at life as reinventing ourselves every 5 years, as my mom likes to say. Every transition year is a new reinvention of ourselves. Just take that moment to be like, okay, cool. What if we looked at life as not as transition, not as failures, but as we get a chance to reinvent who we are every 5 years. And once you let go of a timeline, even though I'm saying every 5 years, my mom just says that, and I feel like it's kind of true. But if you let yourself go like, oh, I need to do this by this age and I need to do this by that age, you're okay. I wanted to publish a book I wrote when I was 18. Still haven't published that book. And I have everything in me to be able to publish that book right now if I wanted to, and I still haven't done it. And I don't know if there's a mental block there. I have no clue what that is, but I actually need to sit down and actually do that. And talking about it now, I see like this mental block. Like, no, we're not going to do it. But because we're talking about it now, I got to do it. Because life is not too late. It's like right on time for my journey right now. So if I want to honor that 18-year-old Nikki, then, and I promised her I would, I need to sit down and put that together just for her and see what comes out of that, right? Healing means loving the version of you that thought life would be different, but choosing to keep walking anyway. So for me, I'm continuing to move forward for my 18-year-old self because I'm still loving that version. She thought I was probably would have been like a writer right now, not a podcast host, but like I wanted to be the next Oprah. I wanted to interview people. I wanted to ask people about their lives. I wanted to put people on to therapy. That was my goal. That was what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be the next Ayanna Van Zandt. Like I loved her. But that's not what happened for me. What happened for me was I had to go through life. And that's fine because I learned my lesson. It was a huge lesson. It took a long time to get here, but I'm glad I got here. I'm glad I'm here. And I'm glad you're here with me too. I am glad you are here with me too because we are both in this together. And I want you to know that you are not broken because your story didn't go as planned. You are brave because you're still willing to write your next chapter. And if anybody knows anything about that, that's me. I love writing to begin with. So for me to know that this is just a story, this is just another story in my book, this is just another story of my life. Make it your story. Be like, oh, I remember I used to not want to go to work. Like my thing was I felt like if I got a regular job, that meant that I had failed at life. And I met with this lady in New York. I don't know how I wound up going to this thing. I was in New York for a date, but I was like, I found a free seminar to go to. And the lady told me that she was an artist, but that being an artist didn't pay the bills. So she had to get a job at like a warehouse. And I was like, so how did you convince yourself to do that? She said, I made it part of my story. I told myself, what can I learn from this that will help inspire my painting? And she said, and if you're an actress, go get you a job at Target or Walmart which is what I did at the time. But basically go get you a job and tell yourself, this is research. This is researching for the next role that I'm playing. And when I looked at it from that standpoint, it made it so much easier for me to do it. I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm researching. Like, I need to know what it's like to be, a everyday working citizen. So I'm going to get out here and I'm going to work. Anything I needed to do to trick myself to get out there to do what I needed to do and not make me feel like I had abandoned my dreams, I was willing to do. I was willing to fool myself into doing it. And it got me through. I was able to save up a lot of money by just changing my mindset on why I was doing it, right? And so you can do that too, right? Be willing to write the next chapter, however you see fit, however you need to do it. And if I need to write you a permission slip to do that, fine. Email me, hit me up on social media. Say, Nikki, can you write me a permission slip to change my life? To accept this new person that I'm trying to become? Because some of us need permission to do things, right? Me hearing that lady tell me how to do it gave me permission to go out there and do it without feeling like a failure. So I'm giving you permission to start again. I'm giving you permission to dream again. I'm giving you permission to heal without rushing, without putting a timeline on it, without trying to shove it under the bed, without you thinking that time is going to heal you. I'm giving you permission to find the healing that you need so that you can do what you've been putting off, that you really, really want to do, because you deserve that. And on that note, y'all know we're getting to the end, so let me just go ahead and say this. If there were some advice that I would give to myself from me to me, hello, me is me, vulnerable as self, the advice I would give to my future self would be to keep doing what you're doing. Keep embracing the now. Keep trusting that you'll figure it out. You're smart. You're such a smart person. You are going to figure it out. You figured it out this long. Who's to say you're not going to figure out whatever it is you want to do? You just have to be willing to dream big, and you just have to be willing to believe in yourself, and you have to be willing to do whatever it is you need to do it. I've seen you play small way too many times. And I think the playing small was the fear of being too big because you wanted to always be there for your girls. But I think now is the time to be loud. Now is the time to be big. Now is the time to share and live and laugh and love and all those, weird little things you see on people's walls that, are probably very much out of style right now. But for the most part, everything that you're doing, that you're accepting into your life that you didn't accept before because you were too scared to. I want you to know I'm proud of you. What's up? Yeah. Huh? Okay. So, on that note, that was my daughter calling me, and I'm about to go outside to go check up her car. She said something's going on with it. But I want you guys to know that you are everything that you want to be. You can still be that. Your life is not, as long as you're, put your hand on your heart. Do you feel that? Do you feel your heart beating? Breathe in, breathe out. Is that you breathing? If that's you breathing, then you still got some life in you. And that means you can still do what you want to do. Oh, I'm going to need you to go out there and do it. And just stop talking about what you're going to do. But go out there and do it. And stop talking about what you didn't do, but realize you still got time to do it. And on that note, I will see you guys later. All right, I love you guys.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hello Me, It's Me with Nikki D. Lovely. Just remember, you can't change who you were yesterday, but you can always learn and grow to become a better version of yourself today. So, make sure you do the mental work today for the future you tomorrow, and I will see you next week. And in the meantime, make sure that you check me out on my Instagram at Nikki D. Lovely. You can also find me at nikkidlovely.com and check out my book, No F Boys Allowed. Just a little shameless plug. But either way, I will see you guys next time, and thanks again.